to the Haunted Hangover podcast. I'm Louie, and I'm joined, this is a special one, guys, by the entire Haunted Hangover squad.
Whoa, whoa! It's me.
Which is obviously my bud Dave, and my sister Sam, and of course, we've got Tommy Valley, a.k.a. Tommy Knuckles, a.k.a. Tommy Jack-O-Lantern.
Tommy Cheeseman, a.k.a. Tommy Cheez-Its, a.k.a. Tommy Sugar Boy, a.k.a. Tommy Brussels sprouts, a.k.a. Tommy Cauliflower, a.k.a. Tommy Snatch Your Girl.
Yo, Tommy, why are you snatching everyone's girl, though? That's what I want to know.
It's a problem. I don't know.
Guys, keep your ladies away from this man.
Keep them tight.
Keep them real tight. Tommy's out here snatching them. Oh, but yes, this is the first time we're all together on an episode of the podcast.
Is it really? Or in the podcast? Yeah.
This is
a fun episode.
This is definitely going to be a fun one. This is going to be our Halloween Hangout episode. Right. A bunch of listeners submitted questions to us, so we got some good ones in the bunch. Yeah. We got some fun questions here, and we're gonna answer them and just talk some nonsense. But before we get into the questions, right now we're in the thick of it. It's about late October. How is everyone's Halloween season going? Tom, how's your Halloween season going?
It's going pretty good. I've done a haunted house. I'm on my 14th pumpkin. I'm doing one every day of the month because I'm a madman and a lunatic, and I apparently don't appreciate money.
Tommy Madman Lunatic. That's a new one.
Yeah. But I'm watching a bunch of movies and just having a good time, doing what I can. I plan on going to some parties. I'm putting my costume together. Yeah.
Okay. Tom, 2 questions. Yeah. What are you dressing up as? And how much have you dropped on pumpkins so far for your jack-o'-lantern project?
My costume's
give us
gonna
a figure.
I don't want to give a figure.
Are pumpkins that expensive? I don't know. I don't think I've ever bought a pumpkin car.
Really?
I try to get them as cheap as possible, but like sometimes you're in a rush and the store sells them for like $14.
Didn't you work out a plan with our local nursery Hicks?
Yeah, but even with their plan, it was still very expensive. So I just told them they're way too expensive.
Dude,
so
wait.
I guess it depends how big the pumpkin is.
Let's just rewind here for a second. This is how dedicated our man is. He was going to work out a plan with a nursery to buy wholesale pumpkins because my man is dedicated.
And it was it was.
That's not a bad idea.
It almost went through, but the problem is they even with the discount on wholesale, it's still more expensive. Like a pumpkin, like their pumpkins are very expensive. So like
it's the best of the best.
They are. They actually are.
20% off of a like $30 pumpkin still is not that great when like some markets sell them. Some markets sell them for like $5.99.
Yeah.
But
Tom, I've always bought little baby pumpkins.
But Tom, I when I go to Stop and Shop, I see pumpkins. I keep saying jack-o'-lanterns, pumpkins for like 2 for $10. I'm surprised they're so expensive.
That's what I'm saying. I go to supermarkets, or like I'm gonna make a trip out east sometime next week and just buy a whole bunch because they're cheap when you go out to those big farms.
Tom came over the other night and he carved a jack-o'-lantern in my kitchen, and he said to me, "I have another pumpkin in my car if you want one." And I was just like, "That's amazing."
I'm not gonna front though, like pumpkin patches. Like when you go to pick up a pumpkin, they're always expensive. Like I just bought one and it was $10 for one big pumpkin. So yeah, it's always cheaper to just go to the supermarket.
Yeah, so it's like when you go apple picking, which I do not like apple picking. And when you go apple picking, they charge you like $30 to enter the orchids or whatever it's called.
That's without the apples.
Right, and then you're literally buying, like, they give you the bag, as many as you can fit in the bag, which only fits, like, fucking 10. So you could go to the fucking store, and the apples are much cleaner, are much fresher, and you get them for the fraction of the price. It's such
and then
a
you
sham
have like
apple picking.
4 days to finish like 30 apples, which is not
it's a
possible.
sham.
Dave, it's for the experience. That's why they're charging you that much.
No, listen. Pumpkin picking is a different story. I do love going into a pumpkin patch and finding.
Fuck apples though.
The apple picking is I could do without that.
Sammy, how's your October and Halloween season been so far?
You know, Lewis, I thought you'd never ask, to be honest. It's been pretty good. I feel like I started prematurely with like the pumpkin coffees, the pumpkin treats, the pumpkin beer.
I think we all have.
So really, like, so by the time October 1st came, I was like, oh, I'm over it. But I went to Comic-Con to start off the month of October. That's always fun. Dave, you were also there. I'm sad I missed you.
I completely agree. Now, let me just say one thing. Tell me, I have a feeling you're going to agree with me. So for me, it's for the last like 10 years now, going to Comic-Con has always been like the best way to welcome in October because it's like the best event. And it's just like all these amazing things are going to happen. And it starts with Comic-Con. Do you feel the same way about that? Yeah.
I see it the same way. I'm just like, oh, it's always the first weekend of October. I also have been going for like 10 years now without last year. And I'm like, we're starting off with a bunch of like, you know, nerds in costumes. They always plan a meet and greet or an event or a panel that somehow is spooky or revolved around Halloween. They're very strategic in that. So far it's been really good and I'm super excited for Halloween. I'm actually throwing a party for the first time. So every week I'm like putting a little bit into the party fund. I'm so excited.
Great.
Yeah, I like it. It's been fun.
Tom, I don't think you did you didn't tell us what you're dressing up as.
Oh, he didn't.
Marty McFly.
What is it?
Oh, that's perfect.
Tommy McFly.
Tommy McFly is another name to the Tommy DeLorean. Tommy Hoverboard. Oh, I can't wait to call it Tommy Hoverboard.
That's the best one.
I love that.
Sammy, what are you dressing up as?
I'm gonna be Dr. Frankenfooter.
There we go.
Nice.
There's nothing like cooler than a girl dressing up as a guy and dressing up as a girl.
Okay.
Dave, you talked about where you're dressing up as in your in the last episode. You already talked about it.
first couple's costume. Sheila is going as Junior from Problem Child and the Devil outfit, and I am going as the Bowtie Killer. The Bowtie Killer from Problem Child. So yeah, we're pretty excited for that.
That is amazing.
Yeah, we're very stoked. We were originally. Sheila was gonna be Gallagher, you know, the guy that smashes fruit with the big mallet. Sheila was gonna be Gallagher, and I was gonna be like one of like the people in the crowd with a smock on and like fruit all over me.
That's great.
We were gonna do that. That might be in the bag still for another Halloween, but those were on the table.
You should have been a watermelon. You just get a watermelon.
I could have. Yeah. I think it would have been funnier to walk around with like pieces of fruit all over my rain jacket or something.
How would you achieve that? Like, what would you have done?
I don't know. Just fucking literally go just buy fruit, smash it up, and throw it on my rain jacket and let it dry and get gross. Probably
have Sheila really like smash fruit in front of you. Get authentic pieces of fruit flying at you and just keep them on you the whole night.
It'd be fucking hilarious. What about you, Lou?
I still have no clue. I was just about to say.
That's every year with Louis.
Yeah. You're gonna go as my sister. You're gonna go as Negan or something because you have a beard.
No, never.
I have to say, I have never met someone who loves Halloween so and never really prepares for what to wear for Halloween. Like, if that.
Come on, Lou.
I think like the most prepared, I'm talking about in your adulthood, not when you're a kid, because mom did most of the work for that. But in your adulthood, the most preparing I think I've ever seen you do is when you dressed up as Negan. Like a week before, you were like, "Oh man, do you have a red bandana?" I was like, "Wow, look at you preparing." That
was a last minute costume too.
Andrea was mad at you too. I remember coming to your party and you're like, "Yo, Andrea is mad at me because I'm Negan." And I'm like, why? Because he killed Glenn.
Yeah, because she stopped watching the show when they killed that character off and was so mad at me because I dressed as the dude that killed him.
That's amazing.
Dude, that death affected her. That's why she stopped watching the show, because that was like her favorite character.
I think that's kind of when I ended it too, actually.
Yeah, I stopped watching after that season.
But it's in the book. That whole scene's in the book. Everybody that's read the book should know that scene is coming.
She's never read the comic book, so she had no idea. So, but yeah, she was super pissed off at me about that night. But yeah,
damn, boy,
I forgot about that.
Honestly, that was a last minute decision too, because we were having the Halloween party and I didn't have.
But it was still like a good 4 days before. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Normally, you're like an hour before. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna do a little skull face, and maybe I'll put a little skull shirt on. I'm like, okay, let's.
Her and I were talking about dressing up as like Midsummer, so like she was gonna dress up as Florence Pugh's character, and then I was gonna dress up as in a bear suit.
That's awesome.
Like to do a couples thing, but that still hasn't been set in stone. So who the hell knows? It might change in the next couple days. I have no clue what we're gonna do. Okay. I'm sure I'll figure it out. and when I do, I'll be sure to tell everyone. Okay. And you guys will know what I dress up as, I'm sure. So, but yeah, let's jump into some of these questions because we have we've got a lot here.
Quite a few.
Dave and I are gonna jump back and forth in between.
Did we actually say that this was gonna be the Q&A episode? I don't know if we did.
No, no.
He did. He said he had some questions from fans.
Okay, well either way, we're doing this is a fun, laid back episode. We're gonna be answering some questions from Twitter and Instagram, and we have the rest of the Haunted Hangover crew. And it's already been fun, so expect more of this. Luke, jump into these questions.
The title of this episode was just going to be, again, Halloween Hangout. I think I said it earlier.
That's how I have it in my notes.
Halloween Hangout, the Haunted
Hangout.
Squad.
I have it Haunted Hangout. That's why I have my phone in my hand, because I'm reading off my notes. So there you go.
Close enough, Dave. So Dave, I'll take the first question on the list here for us. And I believe that, the first batch here are all from Instagram. Mm-hmm. Dave, I think the last two on my list, there's 2 extra questions. When we get to them, I'll let you know.
That I don't know, right? I do not know.
Yeah, you don't know those. But there's also 3 questions that you and I have answered in previous episodes that Tom and Sam are going to answer on their own. All right, so let's jump into this first one.
Sure.
And the first question is from _Sam Franz.
Great dude.
He is a good dude, always supporting the show. And his question is horror remakes you prefer over the original.
Okay.
Tom.
Yeah.
What's a horror remake you prefer over the original?
Like, obviously, the most obvious answer is always going to be like, The Thing, which is true. I don't have a lot of love for the original The Thing. It's, it's just kind of a cut and dry, boring 50s movie. But I have a controversial pick. I have a very controversial pick. And I think it's because I love Anton Yelchin, but I really do like watching the new Fright Night a lot. Like, the original is great. It's a classic. It's got its charm. It's an 80s classic, but I really dig the new Fright Night. It was a lot of fun. Great soundtrack. It just had it was a very different vibe with the same story. So that's why I don't mind it.
It's funny. I've only seen it. Yeah, I've only seen it once, and I don't remember it at all.
I didn't know Anton Yelchin was in it. I'm also a big fan of him. That makes me want to see it.
Yeah, see it.
It's gonna be. That's one of those movies I have to revisit. I think I rented it when it came out.
I think I've seen it once too.
Yeah, Tom, that came out in what? 2011, right?
2011.
Yeah. So it's 10 years old at this point. Yeah. Wow. It's been a while. I have to revisit it. I feel like it's had a resurgence recently, and more people are appreciating it. And I have a feeling it has to do with Anton Yelchin. That's probably why people are loving it or enjoying it more now, a decade later. I feel like that happens with movies. Time passes, and people eventually appreciate it down the line. So, That's a good pick, Tom. We all need to revisit that one. So
yeah.
What about you, Sammy? What's
okay.
your pick?
So this was a harder one for me too. Can we count foreign films?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So I don't get scared easily, but the first time that I watched The Ring, I couldn't sleep for like 4 days or a week, right? Because of the tape. I really I don't know why. I've seen just about everything there is to see, and that movie scared the shit out of me. The remake of that film, or like made for English audiences, was significantly scarier to me than the original film. I thought the original film, I think, and I don't know, maybe it's like a little biased because I watched the remake before I watched Ringu. But when I watched Ringu, I was like, well, this isn't as scary as as scary as the other one. And I think a lot of it also had to just do with like the special effects of it, because they did not come out that far apart, right? So I think it was like 4 years. Am I wrong? It might have been
I think you're something.
I don't know the time span, but
it wasn't that long. But I think that the remake was a lot scarier than the original. So I really liked it.
Okay.
That was mine. That was mine. Just because there's just not a lot of remakes that are.
I prefer the American. I love both of them, but I prefer the remake over the original's perfect. It's a perfect film too, but
it's great.
I'm a big fan of the remake. I honestly, when I was thinking about this, I didn't even think about The Ring, so that's a good pick, Sammy.
You know what's funny about The Ring? Sheila and I went to a haunt last week called Reaper's Revenge, which was amazing. We drove 2 hours to go over there.
Is it in where was it? In Pennsylvania?
I'm sorry, yes, it's in Pennsylvania.
Okay, cool.
And it's a hayride / multiple haunt walks, whatever. And they did a thing with The Ring, and you don't see that often at haunts. And literally, they stop you dead in the forest, and they have the video playing of The Ring, and then suddenly the well is in it lights up, and then someone comes out, and the girl was awesome. The girl that was doing what's her name? Samara, I think, or I think her name is Samara.
Yeah.
So she comes out, and she comes up on the fucking hayride, and she's dragging herself to everybody, and
that's amazing.
It was great.
That's so funny you say that. Sorry, I don't want to go too off topic, but
it's okay. It's the tangent podcast.
I don't ever really see. That's a good point. We don't really see that character in that film represent a lot in haunts. But when it was newer, me and Louis actually went to a haunt.
I was about to talk about that.
I don't remember where it was, but he knows how much that movie scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. You want me to tell the story, Sammy? Because I remember where it was.
Yeah, please. I would love. You probably remember better than I do.
So, Sammy, you were what, like?
I think it was 16. It was the first time I actually even went to a haunt, like a real haunt. We went on like the old school, like on a track, but not like walk through haunt, because I was too scared before that.
So, I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast, but the name of this place was Terror Dome, and it was near the Catskills in upstate New York, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe they had a giant haunted barn. They had some other haunt that was a like pitch black kind of walkthrough type deal where you can't see anything. And then the third haunt was like a movie theater. They built this room, and they had chairs, and everyone sat down, and you watched the screen. And what they did was they played these clips, right? And they'd have like Halloween played, and they had a guy dressed up as Michael Myers come out. They had a guy dressed up as Freddy, and all the iconic slasher movie villains and horror characters. So, again, it's like my sister just said, she had never been to a haunt before. She was terrified of the Samara character from the American Ring. And out of nowhere, we see the tape, like you described, Dave, like you just saw recently, from the movie. And out of nowhere, from like underneath, it was like, I think underneath the ground or something, there was like a hole in the floor.
It was like orchestra. There was like a baby orchestra, and she she basically
popped up out of it. She comes up, and she's walking slow, all creepy, like in the movie. And my sister, she has a nervous breakdown. Sammy, you were terrified. Like you were almost about to start crying.
I think I might have. I also think I stood up and like walked out of the theater because I was like, I think I'm good.
No. You didn't walk out. Mom didn't let you. Our mother didn't let her leave. But the funny thing was, the actress dressed up as Samara saw her like overreacting and freaking out and went right up to her, like literally, and all I look over
just asking for it.
Dude,
yeah.
I'm laughing because my sister's like having a panic attack. She's like, oh my God, just screaming and
I couldn't breathe.
That's amazing.
That's that's our little ring story for the show, because that is funny. I feel like
I'll never forget that, but I like that Dave brought that up because I'm like, that's so true. We never really see it again, and it is an amazing horror film. Like,
she should be incorporated in more like haunts and stuff like that.
For sure.
For sure.
But Dave, what's your pick for a horror remake you prefer over the original?
All right, I might catch a little flack for this one. I'm not sure if it's quite a remake, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation. I like this movie more than the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is why I said I'm going to catch flack for this. People, like, I've heard people say it's a remake. I've heard people say, like, I'm pretty sure Kim Henkel wanted to, like, you know what? Maybe it's more comparable to the second one because I know he hates the second one. So, either way, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation, I fucking love that movie. I think it's better than the original in every way. I love the atmosphere. I love Matthew McConaughey's batshit crazy fucking acting in that. I love how dirty the movie feels. It's just a great movie. Also, the portrayal of Leatherface is the best portrayal of Leatherface in every single movie there is of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that's my choice. I hope that's okay.
I'm sure some people would consider that more of a sequel than a
I would say it's more of a sequel, but I would say I think it's still great. I don't know if it's better than the original, but I think it's still great, and I think it still stands true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
I haven't watched it in so long.
I don't think. All right, so like that's why like I was going on about. I was like, all right, what can I go? I wanted to choose something that you know how I usually go about things. I always go about things. I usually kind of go a little out of the box when I make my choices. So. It's not exactly a remake, but people have compared it. People compare it to the original all the time, so that's kind of why I just was like, I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna compare these two. So I prefer this than the original. That's just me.
Yeah,
right. That's a unique move. Pick. A unique. I'm trying to think. Have we ever talked about your love for Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation on the podcast?
I'm sure I've mentioned it before.
I'm sure it's come up. My picks. Louis. I have two. I cheated a little bit. I picked two. I had two movies.
Too. That's not fair.
Damn, boy.
Go.
I have a quick answer for both of them. I'm not gonna. It's not long-winded or anything. But my first pick is The Blob from 1988. I prefer.
Ooh, that's a great choice. I didn't even think of that.
That's a good pick. Yeah.
I prefer I enjoy the one from the 50s with like Steve McQueen. It's a fun movie. It's great. I just gravitate more towards the 1988 remake because that's like that was out when I was a kid. Like I remember seeing that one first.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why
I
love that one way more. And it's also got better. Like the effects are obviously better. It's gory. It's just a great movie. I always preferred it. And my second pick is Willard from 2003. I went a little more.
That's so good.
I went a little more deep cut. Yeah, dude, Crispin Glover as Willard. Come on.
Yeah.
That's such a good one.
It's the original Willard is kind of boring, if I'm being honest. Like
it totally is. It's very boring. It's also not like gruesome enough. It's not dirty enough for the concept of. this. Yeah, I agree with that. That's awesome. That's a great
Willard
pick.
from 03 is even better than Ben, I think. The original Ben, which was, I think Willard was, I forget which one came first, if it was Ben or Willard, because they're actually, I think one's a sequel. I forget because I'm not that much of a fan of the original films. But Willard 2003, great pick. Great movie. So better than the original. Dave, what's the next question we got?
Sure. So, if you can change one horror origin story, which would you change and why?
I need to go last.
Okay. Do you want me to go first on this one?
Oh, who's this question from? This was from Booze Bros and Bill. Chris.
Oh,
it's from Chris. Chris's podcast. Our boy Chris.
Okay, so you're gonna have to assist me on these because I did not write down who wrote these.
No worries.
I just wrote down the questions.
Yeah, okay. that was from Chris. Go check out his podcast, Booze Bros and Bill. He's been on the show before.
Chris rules.
Yes.
Again, I'm kind of choosing something that's not exactly exactly sticking to this question, but here it goes.
Yeah.
So, not quite a change, but more so why. I want to know a little more why, and maybe why the character maybe for me needs to be fleshed out. But that's Michael Myers. I understand the minimal and mysterious approach to Michael, just being someone who is pure evil, but there's literally no context to anything, and I would truly like to know why he is the way he is, and why he can't die. Just something. Give me something. I want to know why Michael Myers is the boogeyman.
Yeah.
The series definitely tried that, but they're all over the place.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, like, if we're just kind of, like, just simplifying it to, like, the first film, why can't he die? Definitely a big question, okay? But then it kind of just gets really messy after that, right? Like, who is this guy?
I think they tried to give it an answer in Halloween 6, but that was so... I love aesthetically the theater cut of Halloween 6. It's a fun movie. It's dumb, but I enjoy the shit out of it. Producer's cut is not worth it. I'm not... That incestual reasoning and that cult, it was... I think they were scarred so badly by that movie, they decided to never attempt to explain Michael again. Even though Rob Zombie, and I revisited the movies this year, the first half of the first Halloween, his Halloween, is actually really good. Him and Dr. Loomis, those are very powerful scenes. I just don't care for the second half, which is like a rushed remake with the worst female dialogue I've ever heard.
Yeah. Well, Rob Zombie's reason for Michael Myers existing is because he's basically like the child of a broken home, like a white trash, like everyone's just horrible in his household, which was kind of like a serial killer reason for what he did, like just a shitty upbringing. But
it's more of like a psychological standpoint that Rob Zombie really did.
I think he did have this nice... I think there was a tender moment in that remake where the last touch to humanity Michael had was Laurie. Yeah. So when she destroys that kind of just completely sends him into like the boogeyman, the monster that we know him as. You know, there's good elements in that movie. God, he can't write women for shit. Oh my God.
All right, Tom, what's your answer then? What origin story would you change and why?
Honestly, I thought about it and I'm like, I don't mind most origin stories. I think they're all fine. But I think maybe I'm cursed by the god-awful 2010 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. But I would really like to erase the idea... Like, being a child murderer is bad enough. Like, that's what makes Freddy Krueger like this monster. But now it's like, oh, pedophile. It's like, I don't want this. Just get rid of that. Because it's like, now you feel gross dressing up as Freddy Krueger. It's like, yeah, in 2010, he was a child predator. It's like, great. This was terrible. I don't want this.
That movie shouldn't exist. That movie doesn't need to that movie shouldn't be a thing. So whatever. That movie sucked. All right, Sammy, what's your pick for this question?
Okay, so I struggled so much with this because, like Tom said, there's not a lot of origin stories. Like, it's hard to imagine a different origin if you liked it so much to begin with, right? But I think I'm going to go with Carrie.
Okay.
I feel like it's very briefly mentioned in the novel that it's usually passed on genetically, her telekinetic powers. But we never really talk about how she got these powers specifically. So I think it would have been a great opportunity for them to kind of manipulate the story and maybe just, again, this is kind of like a what if situation, maybe make it that her mother is so batshit crazy and religious because she was in a similar situation and she turned to God because of these powers.
That's a unique pick. I like that.
Something we can do with that story. There's just not enough. How does she get this? Why did she get this? I think I would have loved to see like the mom or how she got it genetically, like introduced into the story.
That's a unique one. I like that. Cool.
It would also be a nice commentary on the repression of the female identity and sexuality, especially like because that's what makes Carrie special is this power. But then because of like everything that happens, it's like a weapon. But it's like this comment, like, oh, if her mother was doing the same thing, repressing it with religion. It's like repressing her individuality and identity through this.
It could have been like a good opportunity for them to kind of like do a sequel on that. Or prequel, whatever. Yeah.
Good pick, Sammy. Good pick.
Yeah.
I was struggling with that one.
My difference or the origin story I would change. Jason. I'd make him a zombie the entire time. Like that whole timeline is so weird because early on he's like a mongoloid beast that just kept growing and living in the wild. And then he died and they brought him back as a zombie. I think he should have just died when he was a kid, came back as a zombie, and then just existed the entire franchise the way Jason is, but just as that zombie. I was always just more of a fan of zombie Jason, to me personally.
Yeah,
part 6, 7 are my favorite Jason, so.
Yeah. Like that's I think most people like the zombie Jason more, so they should have just kept him as like this undead force the entire time. That's just me. That's what I would have
like that
gone
too.
with. So, you know.
Cool. Great answers, guys.
Yeah, very, very good answers, everyone.
Good question.
That was a very good question.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris, if you're listening to this.
Thanks, Chrissy P.
Chrissy P coming through with the convo starter with that question. All right, so the next question, pretty simple one here from Stephen G. Wolf. The question is, favorite Universal monster? Tom, what's your favorite Universal monster?
The Wolfman.
Okay.
I love the Wolfman. I mean, like... why am I drawing a blank on his name now? I was literally just talking about him.
Lawrence Talbot? The actual character?
No, the actor.
Oh, Lon Chaney Jr.
Yo, Lon Chaney Jr., what an incredible performance. Like, he delivers so much emotion in just his deliverance and his facial expressions, but, like, because he is a tragic character. He's this guy who just literally just wants to die. He wants his curse to end, but he has to carry this burden and this tragedy of, like, becoming the Wolfman, and how this, like, monster... like brutalizes like these villages and these people's lives. I think he's my favorite monster. Like there's a dated factor with these movies. Like aesthetically, they're fun to have on and watch sometimes, but it's hard to actually like. That's my biggest problem with the original Dracula. It's hard to sit and actually watch it because it is like this was before like scores were really a thing. Not really many sound effects. It was very like aside from a few amazing shots and scenes and dialogue, it's like. This is long. But the Wolfman, I actively enjoy watching from start to finish. And I love anything the Wolfman is in. And it's also unique because, like, Dracula is based off the Dracula, Frankenstein are based off of, Old English books. But the Wolfman is, in a way, it's its own creation based on old folklore of the werewolf. But there is no, like, the Wolfman book.
Yeah. That's a good pick, Tom. What about you, Sammy?
Okay, so I feel like I'm kind of like cliche for saying this, but it's going to be Bride of Frankenstein.
All right.
That's a good one.
Because I feel like, to me, that's like the earliest representation of like spooky being absolutely stunning and just like beautiful. We're seeing like a beautiful spooky character. It's not meant to be scary or terrifying. It's just like an honest, sweet kind of, you know, I don't know, icon. So that's my pick for sure.
The funny thing about the Bride of Frankenstein too is that she's only in like 2 minutes of the movie at the very end.
But it's so powerful.
So powerful.
Like
really iconic too.
Because like she's only there for like the ending, but there's that moment because the idea is we're building a bride for the monster. Yeah. Like he needs a bride. He needs someone to love. She's brought into this world and immediately asserts her. She's like asserting her identity. Like no, she rejects the creature, and that the creature himself reflects like, what have I done?
Yeah,
and he, you know, this creature
I was forced to.
Yeah,
it's like an arranged marriage.
He didn't speak at all in the first movie. Now all of a sudden he has reflection and he goes, what have I done? He learns more than fucking Henry Frankenstein did in any of those movies.
It's definitely a bummer of an ending, so it's not the happiest. What about you, Dave?
So aesthetically, I like the Universal monsters, but like if you were to ask me, oh, like, are you into them? No, I'm not.
Yeah. I figured.
As he's wearing a Dracula hat.
Well, it's because it's me, really, because my mom dressed me up, literally. Whoever's watching the video when they watch this on YouTube literally dressed me up as this. So that's why I chose Dracula, because ever since I was a kid, my mom always had me dress up as Dracula. Different iterations of Dracula. I was an all white. I had all white shirt and a black bat hanging from my neck. Then I was the classic Dracula, but Dracula's a cool ghoul. Vampires are cool. I like the lore of them, so I go with Dracula. Like I said, I'm not a big Universal Monsters fan, but Dracula, that's my choice. That's my choice. I'm sticking with it, and I'm giving a shout out to my mom for coming up with interesting ways, like hanging a bat on your son's neck. Because I don't know if Dracula actually did that, Mom, but thank you. And by the way, I used it as a cassette cover for my last album. That's how much.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure we've talked about it in a previous episode. Your mom's
I'll
love.
I'll never not talk about it.
Your mom's love of dressing you up as Dracula.
Yeah, for years. Lou, what's your pick?
So, unlike you, I'm a big Universal Monsters fan. I own the box set with like all of them. I've watched all of them. It's tough for me because I'm one of those people that like bounce around. I can't choose one. I've always been a big fan of like the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Sure.
Just in general, just kind of what they've done with him. How in the original film, you know, it's just them looking for like this kind of cryptozoology type myth, and then in the second one, they take him to like a SeaWorld like type aquarium deal, and he attacks everyone. He's always just been a really kind of hokey character, but I've always gravitated towards him. I also love Frankenstein, the monster. Like, I think that's an iconic design. You don't even have to like watch any of the movies to appreciate them. Yeah,
they're all good. Aesthetically, they're all cool.
I don't think you necessarily have to watch the movies or be someone like me that's familiar with like the entire, like all the series to appreciate the designs and the characters themselves. And I'm also a big Wolfman fan. I like all of them. It's hard for me to really. I like the Mummy. I like the Invisible Man. I like all of them. It's hard for me to really pinpoint one, but I gravitate towards the Creature and Frankenstein.
I wonder why like a witch was omitted from like the Universal Monsters. Why there wasn't a witch character? Because I feel like a witch is more of a thing than the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like I feel like that's more of a classic monster.
I actually do have somewhat of an answer to that.
I'm glad I asked.
It's because I was watching a thing and I was looking into like how like Halloween and monster like imagery has become part of our pop culture. And before the Universal Monsters kind of cemented themselves in the zeitgeist of American pop culture in like the 60s and 70s, you would see like pumpkins and witches were kind of the staple of the season. Like those, you look back at a lot of older decorations, you would see more of that, and then the transition kind of happened to the Universal monsters. Why there was no female-led monster movie, I think there were attempts, like even in these movies there are witches, or gypsy, dark magicians.
Sure.
Like the Wolfman gets cursed by a witch gypsy, but I don't know if I'm not entirely sure why there was no standalone witch. I think it's also because a lot of them were based off, like, aside from the Wolfman and the Mummy, these were based off of books. I don't think there was, like, a particular book that was accessible. Okay. Because you think about it, those books were written, like, only, like, 30, 50 years before those movies were made.
Yeah, and honestly, if we think about when these films were made, it was like damsel in distress. Women were, it's kind of horrible to say, but like women weren't.
The reality is.
Yeah, it's the reality of the time. It was like women were like looked at, I guess, differently from, like they were looked at differently from men during those times. So I guess women were like the romantic interest, or like the victim, or like Dracula's daughters, or Bride. Because there are films like The Daughter of Dracula, I think, and I don't remember if that's a Universal Monster movie or a Hammer film, because Hammer was the 70s, but much later, which is great, there were like female-led monster movies. So it's just the 30s and 40s were a very misogynistic time. So that's why I think there were no like female-led
I think that's part of it. That definitely is part of it. Yeah.
And even look at the Bride of Frankenstein. She was just the bride of Frankenstein. So, and she was only in the movie for 2 minutes. So that kind of tells you where they were in Hollywood at the time.
I'm here to help you. Help yourself, fucker!
This one was asked by the wonderful Living Drea. Andrea, baby girl.
Yes.
She asked, who is your favorite final girl or boy, and why? And I really like this question. I think this is the best question we've got asked.
I think so too.
So, you know what? Louis, you're going to start this one.
Yeah.
So, I went with the deep
tough guy.
Kind of. It was, I went with Linda Blair as Marty in Hell Night from 1981.
Okay.
I chose her just because I'm a huge fan of Hell Night, and I didn't want to go like a typical like Laurie Strode. I didn't want to go with that. I wanted to go with something more.
I wasn't gonna think that was your first choice.
A little more obscure. So yeah, Linda Blair's like tough as hell in that movie. Like she's like a mechanic. I think it's like insinuated that she
rolls in everything.
Card. Yeah, she's great. Like it's Linda Blair in like a slasher film, and she's the final girl, and she looks great dressed up in like her Victorian outfit in the movie, so I also want to say she's all, and this isn't necessarily a horror film, it's more an exploitation film, but like she's the final girl in Savage Streets, and she's fucking awesome in that too. So I'm going with Linda Blair as Marty.
I almost chose that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, that's Savage
Streets. Wow.
Oh, there you go. We're great minds think alike, Dave. But yeah, so yeah, Linda Blair as Marty from Hell Night. What about you, Dave?
All right, so you know what? I guess I'll go. All right, mine is Cody Culp from the amazing Class of 1999. That is my Instagram handle, and for everybody that doesn't know it yet, you're gonna get this is my Instagram handle. Class of 1999 is a sci-fi horror blast that is perfect in every way. Android teachers, futuristic gangs, amazing dialogue. This movie has it all. And the main dude, Cody Culp, is so fucking cool. Very well written. Now, tell me if you agree with this. A very well written character. You aren't given much of a reason to dislike him, but he's also not painted picture perfect either. No. And like I said, it's my Instagram handle for a reason. He's just he's just a really cool character. I think one of my friends recently messaged me and was like, yo, Cody Culp is really fucking cool. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why it's my Instagram handle.
That's a good pick.
That's my choice. And listen, I cannot not close out my answer with this line, because he says it in the movie. And he goes, I'm a black heart for life, whether I like it or not. That's the gang he tried to leave.
I just watched Class of 1999 recently. It's so good.
It's amazing.
I love that movie. It is great. All right, Tom, what about you?
This was a tough one because like obviously the staple and the classic is the Laurie Strode. Like
yeah, of course.
Jamie Lee Curtis, fantastic. And then every Friday has one, but honestly, I have to go with. I was gonna go with Nancy from the original Nightmare on Elm Street, just because she is a very powerful, authoritative figure who subverts the expectations and really survives that movie. But I have to go with Jesse from Nightmare 2. I love Jesse.
That's a good one.
I love this.
That's a great one.
So he's a great character that had a really unfortunate, like Mark, the guy who played him, was a closeted gay man in the 80s during that time. And there's an unfortunate and parallel between the way the movie was written and him being a gay man. But like to see that movie have such a revival now and like a cult, like a strong queer following. And like he goes to conventions and people love watching that movie, and there's a lot. He's just so authentic in the movie too. Like he's just so he's so fun and innocent. So it's really tragic to see this awful shit happen to him, and just everybody's doubting him. Like this awful, terrible thing is coming out of him, and the world is just doubting him. And like his best friend, his one connection to everything, gets murdered by him.
Yeah,
it's really.
That's definitely a really good one.
Great pick, Tom.
Great pick, Tom. Totally agree. What about you, Sammy?
This was hard. Okay, so my pick was Sarah Carter from The Descent.
That's definitely a good one.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it was between that and Ash from Evil Dead, but I feel like I wanted to just go with a lady. So I chose that one because of the journey that she goes on.
Yeah.
Like she finds out her best friend was sleeping with her man.
It's literally a Descent.
Yeah.
In the cave with just a bunch of fucking animals and creatures, whatever they are. I think she just watching that film it gives me so much anxiety because the way that it's filmed, the dark, narrow, tight spaces, you can literally hear nothing but them breathing. I felt for this girl so much, and I absolutely love the way that it ends with her just surrendering herself to this cave and just fucking accepting her fate. She's like, cool, I'm just one with these creatures now. I absolutely love her as a final girl, for sure.
That's a great choice.
That's
These
another
are all good
really
choices.
Yeah, all great picks. That's another really depressing ending to a movie, but it's such a good movie, such a great movie.
Yeah,
if I could say one thing, I had a bonus. I'm gonna say bonus final girl right now. I forgot her name, but the girl from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, the third one.
Yeah,
I love her because she starts off as kind of your typical oh, I'm afraid, I'm running away.
Yeah,
and then she gets fucking nuts, and she gets crazy. And I love the ending when she gets picked up or she runs over somebody or something and she goes, there's roadkill all over Texas.
Yeah.
It's just so good. She's a great final girl, and I feel nobody ever gives her nobody ever mentions her. That's a lot of fun, that movie.
Yeah, that's a great line too.
There's roadkill
all over Texas.
Pretty goddamn good, you backwoods motherfucker.
This is from Anthony Michael Angelo. What's your favorite weapon that was used in any film or any which way? Real quick, what signature weapon from a movie do you like? What's your favorite? Mine's the butcher knife from Halloween. Tom,
I've always been a machete guy. I've always loved that machete. The way that Jason wields that fucking machete, man, it's just it's like nothing else.
Sammy?
Freddy's fingers.
That's iconic as well. Mm-hmm. Dave?
I like the buzzsaw in High Tension.
Oh, that's definitely a great one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. That's definitely a good one.
That's a fucked up movie.
It's been a while for me.
Movie.
It's a great movie.
Without doing any spoilers, I was gonna use that was gonna be another pick for my final boy choice, because that's an interesting
that's a good
looking
one.
at a fine. Yeah, but either way, if anyone hasn't seen High Tension, you should see it.
That's a dope. You know what? I haven't seen it in a few years. I might revisit that later.
That's great.
It's great. That is a great movie. I have it on Blu-ray, I think, so I have to pop that in and give it another watch. It's been a minute. The next question is from Nick13, and his question is pretty simple one. Favorite Halloween day tradition? Dave, we might have talked about this in a previous episode. I have two quick ones for me. I usually like to get pizza late at night, and I like going to Halloween parties. I try to go to at least one Halloween party. You know, it'd be nice on Halloween day or around Halloween day. That's usually the tradition. If I'm not having one, or Sammy and I's mother's not having one, or a friend's having one, I try to have one. So a Halloween party, even a small get-together, is always fun. It's something I've tried to do the last few years, the last few Halloweens. Sammy, what's yours? Your favorite Halloween day tradition?
I love just putting on a Halloween playlist.
That's definitely good one.
A Halloween made playlist though, because I don't, I can only listen to Monster Mash so many times, but some deep cuts that you hear in a lot of horror films, I'll put on there. So that for sure. And then, we don't get to do it anymore, but instead of trick-or-treating, I guess, getting the 50% off candy, the next day.
Sure. Okay.
That's always good. Yeah. That's a good tradition.
Yeah.
Tom, what about you? Favorite Halloween day tradition?
I always visit my family, my mom. It's always nice. We walk around a little bit and just watch the trick-or-treaters. But I think this even goes into one of the other questions, but pizza is such a staple of Halloween. It is I think it's embedded in me since being a kid. Because when I was a kid, what we used to do is my sister and I would go nuts. We would love to decorate the whole house for Halloween. And then on Halloween, after we trick-or-treat, we'd always invite all the neighbors and everybody to come over. We'd eat pizza. It's such an ingrained thing in me to have pizza on Halloween that even now pizza is still Dave, I'm seeing on a Halloween. If I'm seeing anyone on Halloween, we're getting pizza. I don't fucking care.
Okay.
All right. Pizza is life.
I am gonna see you on Halloween.
Dave, what's your tradition?
I always have to get in a neighborhood walk. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be my neighborhood. I just have to get out in that Halloween atmosphere. I need to absorb it. So that is my tradition. For sure.
That's always good. A nice Halloween walk is. I try to do at least one.
You know what? I have another myself. One. Coffee hang on the stoop.
All right. That hang time.
Early morning, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
It smells like Halloween.
Yeah, it's
there you
good.
go. That aroma. Yeah. That Halloween aroma.
Yeah.
All right. The last Instagram question isn't really a question. And I'm 90% sure it came from a BS account, which is what's so entertaining about this, I guess, statement. But it's from, and the name is amazing. The name of this account has 2 followers, and they're only following. It might
be someone we know that's just fucking with us.
It has to be, because this is a terrible page and a terrible name. But their Instagram handle is JLo_is_God_God's masterpiece.
That's amazing.
JLo is God's masterpiece. That's their Instagram handle. And their question or statement is, and all I want from you guys is a yay or nay, Shining remake with Ben and JLo as the parents and Becky G as their child needs to happen.
Who's Becky G?
I have no idea.
I don't know who Becky G is, but
none of this.
I love Ben and JLo.
No.
Next.
No. Stanley Kubrick did it great the first time. It never needs to happen again.
I just love how a bot BS page submitted a question.
I don't think it was a bot.
But at least
it was
probably spooky related.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
A Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck fan Instagram page submitted a question. Thank God.
It wasn't a bot, because they actually
answered the question.
The scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They asked the question.
It would have just been you like Ben JLo? Question mark. Hey babe.
I just got a kick out of it. I just got a kick out of the fact that a page like that submitted a question, and they don't even follow us, which is they don't barely follow anyone.
But probably somebody you know.
Yeah,
that's fucking with you.
To that extent.
Whoever you are, show yourself. I want to know who's running the.
I don't want to know who's running that account.
I want to know who's running the J-Lo is God's masterpiece account. Explain who Becky G is to us, because we're all too old to know. I guess we're all old people on the Haunted Hangover podcast. I was like, it's funny because I think I told Andrea, I was like, hey, who's Becky G? And she knew. I think it's like a singer or some like young up and coming singer, like pop star or some nonsense.
So funny.
Hilarious. All right, so these next 3 questions, we'll run through them quickly. Dave and I know for a fact, have talked about these different topics. So these are just for Tom and Sam. The first one is from a recent guest on the podcast. It's from Halloween is Forever. We had a great episode with Brian from that show. Go check them out.
He was a great guest.
It was literally the episode before this one. Give that a listen. We talked about some Halloween commercials, some of our favorite Halloween commercials. But their question is, what was your favorite childhood candy to get while trick-or-treating? Sam, you answer that first.
My favorite candy then and to this day, it's like the miniature Reese's cups that were like with the gold foil on them.
Okay.
Definitely
Still
good.
my favorite.
Definitely good. What about you, Tom?
Mine was always Kit Kats.
Okay.
That's cool.
Kit
All right,
Kats,
I'm answering this question anyway. I'm answering this question. Snickers.
Yeah,
Still to this day.
I knew you were going to say that.
Snickers.
We definitely answered this question in a previous episode. Whatever. I don't remember what I chose. I like so many. Let me think right now off the top of my head.
I'll eat it all.
Yeah, I'll eat it. It's probably it'll be like a Twix. Or I love Twix. Yeah, I like Twix.
Hey, Twix is good.
I just don't understand.
It's in your teeth.
I don't understand why they don't make the miniature peanut butter Twix.
Yeah,
that would be such a fucking great way to make money.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a freak of nature. Chico sticks.
Chico sticks, which
ones
are
those?
The coconut.
Yeah. It's like the orange part. It's like peanut butter, and it has like coconut, and it's orange. It's kind of like what's inside of a Butterfinger.
They're good.
Oh, it's so good.
They're really good.
But that's like a throwback. Like, they don't sell those anymore. I don't think so.
I found them at Dollar Tree like a few months ago, and I haven't been able to find them again. So I'm on the hunt, Sammy. I'm on the hunt for those Chico sticks. I remember us eating those a lot when we were kids. So
Yeah. That was a big thing.
All right. So the next question is from Vibes_Cleveland. Dave and I, for a fact, and we kind of just touched on it a minute or two ago. Favorite Halloween night junk food?
Pizza.
Sam. Yeah, pizza. I figured you were going to say that, Tom. Sammy, what's your favorite Halloween night junk food?
So I feel like because you'd only really find them in stores or out during Halloween, it's going to be like apple cider donuts. I always have them in the fridge during the month of October.
Okay. Those are big.
Like even the Entenmann's ones, like I don't care who makes them, the Hostess, like they're going to be
Listen, let me just tell you something. All those brands, Hostess, Little Debbie, Tasty Cake, I fucking love that shit. Like any of those things will suffice on Halloween night.
For sure.
All the junk food. All the Hostess and Ding Dongs.
Honestly, too,
Twinkies.
Candy. I'm going to be eating candy all day and night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my junk food.
Next question from Aquama. I'm probably butchering your Instagram handle. Aquama. Their question is favorite. Yeah, it's AQUMMA. Aquama.
Yeah.
Akuma maybe? I don't know.
Akuma, I don't know. I'm destroying.
Akuma Matata.
Akuna Matata. Oh yeah. So their question is favorite Halloween memory. Dave, you and I 100% have answered this before.
Probably different. I have so many that I'm like, oh yeah, that's my favorite memory.
It's kind of a vague. It's kind of a question we've answered several times.
Yeah.
It could be answered many different ways. But real quick, Tom, we'll start with you. Favorite Halloween memory?
I think 2003 was the last year that Dave will remember this. The Emery Spook Walk was operating in Mineola.
Yes, you guys have talked about that before.
Which I worked that year, and my Halloween night was spent in a Michael Myers mask, scaring people, just living up Halloween, and just that. So that to me is a very special moment. Like the emotions of like the end of the night, knowing that the season is coming to a wrap. But like that was just an impactful memory to me. So, and Dave, I think the guy I sent you, the house I sent you, I think that's his in Whitestone.
I saw. Okay.
We gotta go.
Check that out
on a Thursday.
I wish you guys had maybe like photos. I think Tom, you might have shown me a photo or two from that night.
Well, no, you actually uploaded a video footage of it from my grandmother.
Yes. That's a great video.
Tom converted it.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It's up on the Haunted Hangover YouTube channel. I probably have to share that.
I don't think I've seen that. Yeah, you're gonna have to now.
I'll probably share it on our Instagram.
And you can hear like 11-year-old me saying dumb shit like you definitely hear me saying dumb shit. So
yeah, it's definitely a great little time capsule.
Yeah.
Of your experience that year. What about you, Sammy? What's your favorite Halloween memory?
Well, I would have to say, like Tom said, like every Halloween is special because it's like we wait all year round for this special day and it's gone so fast. But I think it's a more recent memory. For the first time, I spent Halloween Day in New Orleans, and it was one of the coolest experiences ever. I would go every year for Halloween if I could, simply because everyone who does celebrate Halloween in New Orleans, like, clearly came out, like, brought out the big guns. Every single person is like dressed up to the nines. They're not just like there with like, you know, a hockey mask and like whatever, a t-shirt. Like everybody is fully dressed up, having the time of their lives. It was so fun. I dressed up like Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy with my friend and sang karaoke. It was awesome.
I've been meaning to plan a trip to New Orleans on Halloween. Andrea and I were going to try to do that this year, but it didn't work out. So maybe next year, because I remember you telling me how much fun you had and how people are dressed up in the street, acting wild, getting crazy. So maybe next year we might try to plan that as a trip, because it just sounds like a good time.
Hey, Odie, old boy. You know what Halloween night is? Yeah, well, take that stupid pumpkin off your head and I'll tell you.
All right, so let's jump into some of these Twitter questions. So the first one's from @EpicFilmGuys. Another, they're a horror podcast. They always support us. Big shout out to them. Check them out. And their question is, Garfield's Halloween special or Mr. Boogedy?
I remember the Halloween one, but I'm not sure. I don't remember Mr. Boogedy. Can you shine a little light on that?
So okay, I'll be honest.
It's a Disney, like a made-for-TV.
I'm looking it up.
Mr. Boogedy, so I'm gonna be honest. Like, both of these are not my go-to Halloween.
Oh, okay.
Specials.
I remember this now. Okay.
I have to say something.
Garfield's I'm guilty of this. I'm not the biggest Garfield fan. I remember.
I love
Garfield.
that special.
I remember it. I haven't watched it in years. Mr. Boogedy, I remember it, like, reruns of it every October on the Disney Channel as a kid. I actually rewatched it, maybe a year or two ago, randomly. And I just remember, like, the kids in the house and Mr. Boogedy's there, and I'll be honest, it's not the most memorable thing in the world because I'm having trouble remembering it.
No, it's kind of weird. It's a weird...
I remember, like, stuff from it. Like I said, I recently watched it, which goes to show you, I only watched it maybe a year or two ago. It doesn't have that much of an impact. It didn't have that much of an impact on me because I don't remember too much about it. I remember the family moving into the house, and Mr. Boogedy's there, and his design is really cool. I'm assuming, again, that none of you are too familiar. Dave, probably.
I know.
A little bit.
Tom and Sam, you guys might be too young.
I remember liking it. I remember liking the way the movie felt. Like, or,
yes.
the made-for-TV movie felt.
Yes.
It has like kind of like a dingy feel, like look to it. I remembered it, but if I have to go with something though, I'm gonna say Garfield.
Yeah. Garfield.
I've got to go back and watch that one.
After I got this question, I immediately went and watched the Halloween Adventure. It's Garfield's Halloween Adventure.
Yes, the Halloween Adventure.
And it's on YouTube. It's 25 minutes long. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I watched this sooner. I'm not even joking. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
And there are like 4 songs that are strictly made for this special. It's so good. Garfield is like on a mission to go and get candy because he's like a fat lazy cat, and maybe I'm biased, but I have a fat lazy cat and that excites me very much. And I also am like a huge cartoon nerd, so I actually do like Garfield. But I watched it today and I was like, this is so funny. Yeah. I love it. It was so good. Him and what is his name? Odie, the dog?
Oh yeah,
Odie. They go on like a little adventure dressed as pirates getting candy. Yep. It's so cute. It's so good.
I haven't watched it.
It's so good.
Probably, Sammy, since you were born.
Go watch it after this. Probably. It's so good.
I think the last time I watched Garfield's Halloween Adventure, Sammy was like 1 or 2.
It's been a so very crazy. Long time. Like the first 3 minutes. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I have a question that's not exactly Halloween related, but it's related to Garfield.
What is it?
Who's better, Heathcliff or Garfield?
Garfield.
I'll probably go with Garfield too.
Heathcliff 1 fucking million%.
Heathcliff didn't have a Halloween special.
Heathcliff was the fucking punk of the fucking cat world.
He was.
You can't go wrong with Heathcliff.
Yeah, all I remember about Heathcliff was that intro music. It's like always stuck in my head.
Heathcliff, no one should terrorize your neighborhood. Yo, Heathcliff is so much better than fucking Garfield.
I've just never been a big fan of either one of them.
Garfield's relatable, though. Yeah. He hates Mondays and he loves lasagna.
There you go.
And he has a Halloween special.
Same.
Yes.
Now
right,
I have to see if Heathcliff has a Halloween special. It might.
And if Heathcliff has a Halloween special, we'll definitely covering that. Yes.
We'll watch it and revisit this question.
We're going to have to do a
But I guarantee you it does not have a theme song.
Yes. Probably not.
A Halloween theme song.
I want to go back and watch Heathcliff and this Garfield Halloween Adventure.
Heathcliff's amazing.
He's so good.
Honestly, it's been a very long time for me personally with both of these shows. So...
I was just gonna say, like the first like 2 minutes of which is so crazy, like how much cartoons have changed. But the first 2 minutes of that special, the TV comes on and there's like a scary clown that's like, "Hey, if you're not trick or treating, you're an idiot." And I was like, "Oh my God!" It was like, "Hey kids, if you're not trick or treating tomorrow, you're an idiot."
That's not happening today.
No, not at all. It was so good. I loved it.
All right.
I'm glad we got asked this question because I would have never had the opportunity to go and watch it.
So there you go.
Got to watch that.
Thank you, Epic Film Guys, for submitting this to us because you woke up my sister's appetite, I guess, for Garfield Halloween specials. So it emerged. She wants it inspired her to go watch it. So there you go, Sammy. You've been exposed to something new.
Hey, I've been meaning to talk to you. I'm Heathcliff. I run this block, and you can't go around calling me Furbo.
All right, let's get into this next question from Mojo's Work, and they're asking, match 80s slasher villains, Freddy, Jason, Myers, etc., with their favorite Halloween candy, and why. I cheated a little bit and added Ghostface to this because I know Tom loves Scream. So I wanted to give Tom... We each are going to take one and just, what's their favorite Halloween candy. I'll go first. I went with Michael Myers, and his candy specifically is the candy corn in the shape of pumpkins. That's what Michael Myers, specifically the ones that are like little pumpkins. That's what Michael Myers, that would be his favorite Halloween candy in my book. That's what I think he'd eat on Halloween night. When he's not killing people, he takes off his mask.
Takes a break.
And he's munching on those little pumpkin candy corn pieces. All right, Sam, what are you going with?
I love this question. I also like that you paired us with slashers that we love. So I have Freddy Krueger, and I chose Atomic Fireballs.
Okay.
Because I feel like he can handle the heat. No pun intended.
Okay.
That's a good one. That's definitely very fitting of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
So that's
Atomic
good.
Fireballs.
All right, Tom, what about you?
It is a tough one because I'm going with the original Scream, so sorry if this is spoiling anything. Spoilers right now. But I have to decide between what Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich would eat. And I think that there's such I feel like Matthew Lillard is the kind of asshole that likes to put together the candy cheeseburger.
Yeah.
that
makes
eat
sense.
it one layer at a time.
I can see that.
Skeet Ulrich is very much a straight and narrow. He wants to have his efficient, Twix candy bar. But the Twix comes in a package of 2, so maybe because it's 2 people playing one character, Twix would be the ultimate. Twix would be the Ghostface candy.
They could share the right and left Twix.
Exactly, they can share.
That's such a good. That's such a good answer.
I'm giving Jason Baby Ruth.
Okay.
I love that.
Oh, he's a baby boy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Why are you going with Baby Ruth, Dave?
I don't know. It's either Baby Ruth or Snickers. But I
Seems like something his mom would give him.
Yeah, I think Baby Ruth is a little okay. Baby Ruth. Yeah,
he's really dissecting this.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what I'm pairing with. That's what's coming to my mind immediately. Baby Ruth.
That's like the last, like Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom. That'd be like the last candy on the shelves, or like that the trick or treaters are giving us. She's like, "Here, Jason, have a Baby Ruth," and he's just like, "Ooh, candy."
He would probably love it.
Yeah,
he'd love it. I could see Jason
I love
munching on some Baby Ruths.
For sure.
And then real quick, Chucky and Leatherface. What would they, between the 4 of us, what would they eat? This is what I'd say. I could see Chucky munching on some Swedish fish. Do you guys agree with me?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think Leatherface is going to eat a Butterfinger.
I like that.
That's good. I chose for Leatherface, I thought Tootsie Rolls because nobody wants them.
Yeah, no one wants those.
Leatherface seems like he would be really appreciative if anybody gave him any candy.
That's definitely a good. Those are 2 good picks.
He'd be like, "Oh,
wait. You know what would be good for Leatherface? Cowtails. You ever have a cowtail?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. With the white, it's a caramel with like a white center, right, Dave?
Yes, cowtails are like a caramel cylinder with like a candy cream in the middle type of thing. I think cowtails, they're actually pretty good. I think it goes well with. I think it matches up with Leatherface perfectly.
Yeah, I could see him munching on some of those. He would pick a really rare, like not even rare, but like weird
that's what
choice,
I'm saying.
Leatherface.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right, and then our last question, I think, is definitely a good one as well. This is one of my personal favorites out of all the questions we got. And this is from Halloween Addict. And the question is, this is a desert island question.
Okay.
You're being shipped off to a desert island, and you could only bring 1 book, 1 movie, and 1 song to represent Halloween. What are they?
So there's people on this island who don't know what the real world is, and you have to show them, hey, there's this great thing called Halloween.
There you go.
I'm gonna show you what it is in these 3 things.
That's a good way of putting it. They weren't that specific in the question, but I do like that scenario. I do like that scenario. So Sammy, what are your picks?
Yeah.
Since you came up with the scenario,
you guys are not ready.
I want to hear these picks.
You're not ready. Okay. I didn't want to just choose things that were spooky. I wanted to choose things that were more specific to Halloween that I personally enjoy.
Okay.
So for the book, I chose Haunted Mask.
Okay.
Sorry, Louis, if that was your choice.
It 100% was.
I know it was. I felt like it was, but I don't think anything represents Halloween more than the Haunted Mask.
I agree.
It's and even aside from Halloween, it's amazing. For my movie, This is my personal favorite Halloween movie. One of my favorites, not my most favorite. Casper.
That's a great pick as well. I actually just watched that the other day. I love that movie.
I think that movie is so good, and it specifically like ends on Halloween. We find out Casper turns out to be like a total hottie. Like it's such a good movie. You know what I mean? Like I kind of was going back and forth a lot. Obviously, Nightmare Before Christmas is like an obvious choice, I think. Yeah. But also, there's Christmas elements in it too. So I just wanted to do something that was Halloween-y, right? And Hocus Pocus is played out.
Oh.
And then for my
that's a bold statement, Sammy. That's a bold statement.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I didn't say it was a bad movie. I just said it was an obvious choice.
Okay.
And then for my song, I was kind of at a toss-up with this. This is my song.
Yes.
I chose that final scene, that song in The Guest.
Oh, Antonio?
Antonio. Yeah. Oh, Antonio. Because of that scene.
That's an amazing song.
When they're in like that makeshift haunt in the school.
Yeah.
It just makes me think of Halloween.
That song, that entire soundtrack reminds me, like, I think of Halloween. So that's a great song. Those are definitely three great picks. And I definitely chose the Haunted Mask. I chose
each one.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's what we want here. And it's funny, I had a feeling you were going to pick the Haunted Mask. Funny enough, I did too. Let me just go into my picks, then we'll go into Tom and Dave. So yeah, Sammy, the Haunted Mask is my book on this desert island. I chose Halloween, John Carpenter's original 1978 Halloween. It's my favorite movie. I think it's a perfect horror film. Dave and I, cheap plug, we've been covering all the Halloween films on Patreon. So if you haven't subscribed or joined our Patreon, I should say, go do that and check out our adventure through the entire franchise. And I talk about my love for the original Halloween and
our journey through the Halloween franchise.
Our journey through the Halloween franchise. It's been a long journey. We're not even halfway with them yet, as of the time of this recording. But yeah, Halloween would be the film, the movie, and song. My pick is kind of typical. It's not anything too deep cut. I'm going with Oingo Boingo's Dead Man's Party. The reason why, I think if I'm on a desert island and I want to explain to someone, or I'm just listening to a song, it's going to be Dead Man's Party. It reminds me of Halloween. It reminds me of Halloween parties. That album from beginning to end, because most people focus on this song and Weird Science, which are two great songs. They're overplayed, but they are good songs. But the rest of the album reminds me of Halloween as well. But this is probably a song I never get sick of, even though I've heard it a million times.
Right.
So yeah,
that was also something I considered with the question. It's like you're not going to choose a song you're going to be like, oh my god, turn off.
Yeah.
I heard it 1,000 times.
The Monster Mash I'd go crazy if I heard that. I go crazy hearing it now because I've heard it a million times. But yeah, Dead Man's Party is my song. So Halloween for the movie, The Haunted Mask for the book, and Dead Man's Party for my song. And to go back really quick on The Haunted Mask before I asked Tom his picks. Yeah, that book, I agree with you, Sammy. That's a perfect like story that's centered around Halloween. And the book is just as good as and we've talked about the Goosebumps TV episode of the Haunted Mask. But yeah, the book, perfect Halloween story. I love it. It's inspired me to make this. It inspired me like to create Haunted Hangover and all my film stuff and things like that. So very important book. All right, Tom, your 3 picks, Desert Island Halloween picks.
The way I took it is like, you're on a desert island. It's just you by yourself.
Yes.
So I kind of did it with that thought in mind. The book, I had to think about it because I'm not an avid reader. I would like to do it more, but it's hard with ADHD and my attention span.
Okay.
But there was a book I really enjoyed. It came out I think 2 years ago. It was written by the YouTube guys. I know Louis familiar with them, Rhett and Link.
Yes.
They wrote a book that's it's inspired by their childhood memories of them going on adventures as kids in a small North Carolina town. It's called The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek.
Okay.
It's just a coming-of-age story of, like, 3 best friends, like, hanging out, trying to figure out, like, this town's dark secret. It was really, I enjoy it. It's not based on Halloween, but it's one of those, like, really cool, creepy urban legend late summer stories that really does have, like, this horror element to it. I genuinely loved it, so I wouldn't mind taking time to read it again or listening to it. So movie, I'd have to go Halloween 4.
Okay.
Halloween 4 just has the best atmosphere of Halloween. I love watching it. I love watching Sam Loomis going wild. The favorite scene in that movie is when he's in the car with the priest, and the priest is just as crazy as he is, and Loomis has to reflect and realize, like, oh yeah, this guy is nuts like I am.
Yeah.
And song, I love all their music, and obviously an easier pick would have been to go with anything that Danzig was a part of, but I genuinely love Dig Up Her Bones. Like, the Misfits' Dig Up Her Bones, that music video is nothing but fake tombstones in a graveyard. Yeah. So, like, that would be my pick for this Halloween Desert Island.
That's probably, Tom, that's probably the only, like, Michael Graves era Misfits song I actually really like. I don't really listen to I'm the Danzig Misfits fan. That's just...
Yeah. I mean, honestly, fuck Michael Graves. He's kind of a piece of shit. But that song, and I think that album, actually, Famous Monsters and American Psycho, those aren't bad. There's some really good bangers on those.
I haven't listened to those 2 albums in, like, a million years. I listen to, like, old school Misfits all the time, but those 2, I'll have to revisit them because it's been probably since I was in high school. I don't think I've listened to those 2 albums. Most people are like, Danzig era Misfits is the best over Michael Graves' Misfits.
Well, of course,
which I get.
Danzig.
It's a different
classic.
The music sounds so different.
It's very different. It's very different.
But, Dave, what about you?
So, strictly Halloween speaking, book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I don't know if you remember that book. That was those illustrations. Not Scary Stories.
That was my second choice.
Not Scary Stories, the one with the illustrations by Stephen Gamble. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which was small. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Just for confusion, because I feel some people might confuse that with Scary Stories.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, and song, TSOL, Red Shadows. That's a perfect, that whole album reminds me of Halloween. The entire vibe of that song, the whole album, everything is just, to me, is Halloween. And movie would be Flesh Eater.
Yeah, no one ever talks about Flesh Eater. We have to cover that on the podcast, I feel, in the future, because I do want to revisit it and talk about it a little more. I think we all picked great Desert Island. Yeah, I think they're like great picks for everything. So
this was definitely a great question.
This was a great question. All the questions were great. These were all a bunch of great questions everyone submitted. And thank you guys for submitting these questions. I want to just thank all the listeners and people that follow us on social media and all that, because, it's just fun. It's fun to not like always pick the topic we're going to talk about. So like, it's just fun to kind of be all over the place and just shoot the shit. And you're getting the entire Haunted Hangover squad in this one. So you're getting Halloween from all different, from all the different spectrums across all of our personal experiences. So yeah, thank you guys for submitting all these questions. It means a lot to us.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
So that was our Halloween Hangout. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Haunted Hangover, and be sure to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Haunted Hangover 31.
And if you can rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And remember, the best cure for a hangover is
more booze.
The first time you get everybody in on
First time everybody on the time. That was amazing.
Together. Amazing. Catch you guys later.